Hello everybody, today I'm gonna read Captain Underpants and the Revolting Revenge of the Radioactive Robo-Boxers by Dave Polk. Help! The world is in big trouble. Maybe the comic book on the next page will help to straighten things out. The top secret truth about Captain Underpants. Once upon a time, there was two cool kids named George and we the boss buddies. Me too. They had a really mean principal named Mr. Crook. Blah blah blah. One day they hypnotized him. You will obey us. Okay. They made him think that he was a superhero. You're now Captain Underpants. Okay. It was funny at first. Tra-la-la, ha ha ha. But then Mr. Crook jumped out the window. Wait! Mr. Crook really thought he was Captain Underpants. He got in lots of trouble. Come back, bub. No way. I'm a hero. One time, a big old monster attacked the school. Roar! It tried to eat up Mr. Crook. Ay, ay, ay. George found some superpower juice in a UFO. Glub glub. Drink up, bub. Then Mr. Crook got superpowers. Now he can even fly and stuff. Tra la la. The worst part is whenever Mr. Crook or somebody snap their fingers, snap, snap, he turns into Captain Underpants. Ugh. And whenever Captain Underpants gets water poured on his head, H2O, turns back into Mr. Crook. Blah blah blah. So anyways, in our last adventure, there was an evil guy named Tippy Tinkletrousers. That's me. He built a big robo-suit. Then he climbed inside. I'm going to destroy Captain Underpants. Oh yeah? They got in a big fight. Behold my ice ray. Miss me, zong, zap. Tippy accidentally froze his feet to the ground. Oh no, my feet are froze. Ha ha. Clink. Rats, you broke my robot. But Tippy's robot pants was also a time machine. I'm going to escape by going back in time. Oh no. Tippy's robot pants went back in time 5 years ago. Some bullies saw the Robo-Pants and got scared. Yeah, they got so scared they all went bonkers. Doi, doi, goo goo gaga, me go boom boom. Mr. Crook got blamed for the whole thing. You are fired, Superintendent. I'm a victim of circumstance. Whatever the heck that is. Now, the future's changed. Everything is different. Since Mr. Crook got fired 5 years ago, why me? He never got hypnotized by Jordan Harold. Since Mr. Crook didn't get hypnotized, boo-hoo, he never turned into Captain Underpants. Since Captain Underpants doesn't exist, who's that? He wasn't there to save the world. Who'll save us? Beats me. Tippy realized his mistake when he came back to the present. Oh no! The whole world got destroyed. All because I scared those bullies. I'll turn on the fan. Tippy vowed to make things right. I will fix this mess. But then, Stomp! Who will save us now? Chapter 1. George and Harold. This is George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George is the giant zombie nerd on the left with the tie and the flat top. Harold is the giant zombie nerd On the right, with the t-shirt and the bad haircut. Remember that now. If you read our last adventure, you may recall the final terrifying scene where Tippy Tinkletrousers ended up cowering between the gigantic foot of zombie nerd Harold. You're probably horrified when the super-sized shoe slammed down to the ground, leaving behind a squishy red stain. You may have commented on the surprising inappropriateness of such a murderous and bloody scene appearing in a children's book. It's fun to feel offended, isn't it? Unfortunately, I'm sorry to have to tell you that there was no murder at the end of the last book. There wasn't even any blood. What happened at the end of our last story was actually something called misdirection. It's what happens it's what happens when you are led to believe that something is true, but in reality it's not true at all. Misdirection happens a lot in real life, especially in politics, history, education, medicine, marketing, science, religion, and the Oprah Winfrey Network. Slow zombies at play. Tomato cats. With all that misdirection up there, life can get a little confusing. But don't worry, this epic novel contains no misdirection whatsoever. This legendary tome will explain everything, from our recent narrative complexities to the vast mysteries of our universe. By the time you get to page 210, you'll know it all. You'll be a genius. You'll be smarter than the most brilliant scientists that ever walked the planet Earth, and you will conquer science tests. Actually, no, you won't. You'll find out why. So let's get started, shall we? If you've ever been to the zoo, you might have noticed that really big creatures move kinda slowly, even when they're in a hurry. Like, for example, take this example the, of the tortoise and the hare. It's not going to be long till someone changes it to the miniature elephant and the hare. Because then again, any elephants are pretty slow. Because elephants are pretty big. Even if it were the size of a house cat, you'd be shocked at how long it takes to get to one place to another. Honestly, this doesn't match this. It's supposed to be called The Miniature Elephant and the Hare. So the miniature elephant is supposed to be here, and the hare is supposed to be swooping by the tree. This picture is just not affirmative. It's the same thing with lunchroom zombie nerds. Sure, they're big and scary and stuff, but they move really slow. So if a zombie nerd ever lifts his foot over you with the intent of stomping you into a puddle, don't worry. You actually have a few minutes before you're in any real danger. Tippy found this out the hard way. When zombie nerd Harold lifted his foot above Tippy's head, Tippy screamed in horror. Then Tippy screamed again and again. They checked his watch and screamed some more. Finally, Tippy's voice got kind of scratchy after all that screaming. So he ended up just going to one of the few remaining stores on the planet to buy some cherry throat lozenges. Lozenges, I think that's it. So, anyways, while he was there, he purchased a new suit and bow tie, read part of a magazine, and got a foot massage. On his way out of the store, Tippy noticed an extra large novelty catsup pack that was on sale, so he bought it and dragged it back to the scene of the crime. And Zombie Nerd's hero's shoe was still coming down slowly as Tippy placed the extra large novelty catsup pack under it and walked away. Tippy climbed back into his robe pants just as the Zombie Nerd hero's shoe hit the pavement, crushed the giant novelty cat's hat. A bright red stain squished out from beneath the zombified shoe as Tippy's robe pants disappeared in a crackling glow of light. You see, Tippy had mistakenly caused some trouble in our last epic novel, so he had to go back in time again. But before I can tell you that story, I have to give you this warning. Chapter 2. Let's get serious, folks. Adults are grouchy. I have to say it. Did you ever notice how grown-ups hate it when kids are having fun? When was the last time you were doing something fun and some adult came over and made you stop? If you're like most kids, you're probably reading this great book because some adult wanted you to quit playing video games or watching TV. If you don't believe me, try this experiment. Grab a few of your friends, go into the corner of a room, and start goofing around. Make some noise, start laughing and cheering, and maybe shout out a woohoo or two. It's been scientifically proven that 89.4% of all grown-ups will drop whatever they're doing and rush over and put a stop to whatever nonsense you're up to. Well, that's crazy. And it's just crazy. And you're probably wondering, why are grown-ups like this? Weren't they just once like running, jumping, laughing, fun-loving kids? Now they're grumpy, complaining, calorie counting, easily offended, peace and quiet demanding grouches. What is it that went really wrong? Okay. Well, I I can't certainly speak for all adults, but I'm gonna anyways. I think it's a lot easier for adults out to stomp out someone else's fun than it is for them to reflect on their own lives, figure out where it all went so miserably wrong. It's just too depressing for grown-ups to ponder all the decades of compromises, failures, laziness, fear, and regrettable choices that slowly transformed them from from running, jumping, laughing, fun-loving kids into grumpy, complaining, calorie counting, easily offended, peace and quiet demanding demanding grouches. Or in other words, it's harder to look within yourself than it is to shout, "Hey, you kids, cut that out!" Keeping this in mind, you might not want to smile or laugh while reading this book. And when you get to the flip-orama parts, I suggest you flip with a bored, disinterested look on your face, or some adult will probably take this book away from you and make you read Sarah plain and tall instead. Don't say I didn't warn you. Yeah, that's the flip-orama part. How did I get that right? And how did they even get this right? They even got it the full color version. That's daunting. Chapter 3. Tippy returns again. Wait, what? Okay. Tippy Tinkletrousers was in big trouble. He had accidentally zapped himself back in time 5 years and accidentally front-ended for 6th grade bullies. Mr. Krupp ended up getting fired for this, and since he got fired, Jordan Hill weren't there to turn him into Captain Underpants. I should probably. It's just Tippy knew he was in this very, very bad situation because, obviously. And what did this end up doing? Well, this ended up getting the world destroyed from the villains of our first 3 epic novels. Tippy decided there was only one thing to do: go back in time and stop himself from scaring those bullies. But in order to do this, he would have to go back in time before the last time he had gone back in time. He knew he was in big trouble. So, he made his idea come true. He ended up going like 10 minutes before the last time he had arrived in the past, pressed the "away we go" button. After several seconds of made-for-television styled special effects, Tippy found himself transported to the awful night of the terrifying thunderstorm. Everything looked very familiar. He knew at any moment the 4 bullies would come running from the school and tear across the football field. Then they would come face to face with him, well, a slightly younger version of him, and hopefully he could stop that all from happening. So, when the bullies arrived, he froze them with his ice ray. It took a bunch of time, but he did it anyways. Then, a flash of blue light, a ball of blue light appeared, and guess who it was? I think we all know who it is. Yep, if you're thinking it was a slightly younger version of Tippy, you're right. Hey, who are you? Actually, this guy's like, boy, that was a close one, said a voice from inside the depths of the newly arrived Robo-Pants. Captain Underpants is a lot stronger than I thought. The zipper of the newly arrived robotic trousers opened, and the tiny man peeked out to marvel at the world of 5 years ago. But instead, to his surprise, he saw an identical copy of himself staring straight at him and tapping his gigantic robotic foot impatiently. "Who are you?" said the newly arrived Tippy. "I'm you!" shouted future Tippy. "You from the future." "What's going on?" asked a slightly younger Tippy. I guess you can call him that. "I'm here to stop you from scaring those kids over there," said Tippy, pointing at the frozen bullies. "Why?" said Tippy. "What's so important about those kids?" I have no idea," said Tippy. "All I know is I scared those kids when I came back here the last time, and apparently it caused a chain reaction that resulted in the destruction of the earth, more or less." "I see," said Tippy. "So what do we do now?" Future Tippy looked at his watch. "Those kids are going to thaw out in 8 minutes and 11 seconds. We've got to be gone by then." So he reached into the cockpit of his robo-pants and grabbed one of his very first inventions, the Shrinky Pig 2000. Tippy aimed it at the younger version of himself and pressed a button. Bzzz. A powerful beam of energy blasted the newly arrived Tippy Tinkletrousers and his gigantic pair of robo-pants and shrunk them down to the size of a baseball. Big Tippy reached down and picked up the tiny version of himself. "What did you do that for?" shouted Tiny Tippy. "I can't very well have two of us running around," said Big Tippy. "I've got to keep an eye on you." Big Tippy took Tiny Tippy into his jacket pocket and checked his watch again. 4 minutes and 16 seconds, he muttered to himself, looked at the four bullies encased in the now cracking ice mound. Tippy turned to his Tinkle Time travelometer, programmed it for a day in the future. Time was running out. The ice around the bully was disintegrating fast, so Tippy sneaked away to the center of town, pressed his "Away we go" button, and disappeared into a ball of blue lightning. 4 minutes and 14 seconds later, the ice mountain that had encased and preserved the pulleys disintegrated completely. Without skipping a beat, the four frightened friends continued their mad dash away from the school. As they ran across the football field toward their homes, something about Kipper and his friends changed forever. They would never be the same despicable bullies they once were. It says 2 seconds later, but if it was 4 minutes and 16 seconds, then it should be 4 minutes and 16 seconds. But since it looked like it actually took some time to go back into the future, I decided to say 4 minutes and 14 seconds. Okay, moving on. I'm just really mad that it says 2 seconds later. Chapter 4, Fixing the Future. Big Tippy had sent his Tinkle Time travelometer for a sunny afternoon in October, 4 years in the future. He arrived, as usual, in a giant ball of blue lightning that grew bigger, until it exploded in a blinding flash. "What's going on cried Tiny Tippy. I can't see a thing. Shh, shushed Big Tippy as he shoved Tiny Tippy down into the deep, darkened depths of his jacket pocket. Big Tippy listened carefully. He heard the voice of a child muttering, "This can't be good." Tippy unzipped the zipper of his robo-pants and peeked out. To his delight, the world looked like it usually did. No destruction, no giant zombie nerds, no moon rocks. Everything seemed pretty normal. "Hey, it's Professor Poopy Pants!" shouted a small boy who Tippy recognized immediately. Suddenly, two cops standing nearby started to laugh, which angered Tippy. Stop laughing!" shouted Tippy. "My name is no longer Professor Poopy." Okay. Oh, I know that sounded annoying, sorry. "Stop laughing!" shouted Tippy. "My name is no longer Professor Poopy Pants. I changed to Tippy Tinkletrousers." The two cops laughed even harder. And then this happens. Then, after he did that, he chased George, Harold, Crackers, and Sulu off into this this bush. The morning of the next day, which means they're literally awake the whole night. Wait, trash bins under bridges, even down in the sewer? Okay, that's just crazy. Yeah, okay. What are we going to do? There's nowhere else to hide, whispered George. I don't know, whispered Harold. George and Harold looked at the two pets, shivering with them in the morning mist. We're not going to make it, whispered George, but there's no reason that Sue and Crackers should have to suffer. Harold's eyes began to water. You're right, he whispered. George and Harold patted their two friends sadly as they devised a plan to return to the dinosaur age. We could use the purple potty to take Crackers back home where we found him. Yeah, said Harold, and Sue could stay there with him. They'll both be safe there. As soon as it was clear, the four friends sneaked away from the bushes, headed for Jerome Horton's elementary school, carefully avoiding the major streets and intersections. But it was almost noon by the time George and Harold and their two teachers' pets, and their two pets, I was thinking about teachers' pets, two pets reached the school. Cautiously, they sneaked through the front door and dashed up the stairs to the library. "Hey, Bubs!" shouted Mr. Cup angrily. "Where have you two kids been?" George and Harold looked down and saw Mr. Krupp carrying a large cardboard box. "Well," Mr. Krupp shouted, "get down here and explain yourselves." George and Harold looked at the two pets and continued running up the stairs. Mr. Krupp was furious. His day hadn't started out very well. He had to get some curtains because apparently all uh, all of all of his red curtains with polka dots were going missing. And It was becoming a very bad day. He had driven angrily to the store, bought a replacement box of curtains, started a big fight with the cashier, got a flat tire on the way home. Now his students were bringing animals to the school, ignoring his commands, and running up the stairs. You better get back here, shouted Mr. Krupp as he chased the four frightened friends. Harold, George and Harold and Crackers and Sulu raced to the top of the stairs, dashed into the library, locked the door behind them. They had to go back 65 million years back into the into into the past, and by the time they had gotten into the purple potty, Mr. Krupp had gotten in the room, and then he was banging the door of the purple potty. Hey, I know you're in there, and you can't hide from me forever. Hurry, you gotta get out of here. I'm working as fast as I can. And then a gigantic dark shadow filled the library. Mr. Krupp turned to see a huge robotic pair of trousers at the window. The zipper unzipped, and Tippy Tinkletrousers peeked through the cavernous opening. I got you now, he shouted. Ah, 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 ah. Sorry. Tippy reached for the button of his Freezy Bean 4000 as Mr. Krupp cowered in terror. At that very moment, George finished setting the controller for 65 million years ago. Did you guys hear that? Then he pulled down on the chain. All at once, there was a bright flash of green light, and the purple potty, along with Mr. Krupp and his cardboard box, disappeared into a whirlwind light of electrified ozone. Chapter 5. Tiny Tippy's Tremendous Task. Rats, screamed Tippy as he watched the purple potty disappear. Those kids have a time machine, and I don't know where it went. What's going on? Cried Tiny Tippy from the depths of Big Tippy's pocket. I can't see a thing. Those kids took off in a time machine. Big Tippy barked at the miniature version of himself, and they took Captain Underpants with them. Where did they go? Asked Tiny Tippy. How should I know? Big Tippy yelled. Hey, I've got an idea, said Tiny Tippy. Why don't I go back in time and find out? Okay, that was a weird voice. Good idea, me, said Big Tippy. He reached down and placed Tiny Tippy in the library. You go back in time 10 minutes, listen to everything they say. Then when I show up, tell me where they went. You got it, said Tiny Tippy. He set his Tinkle time travel meter for 10 minutes ago, and in a blue crackling instant, he was gone. Tiny Tippy arrived in the same spot he had left, only now it was 10 minutes earlier. He heard some people running up the stairs, so he decided to hide behind a trash can. Suddenly, George, Harold, and their two pets dashed into the room and locked the door behind them. And Tiny Tippy watched as the boys tiptoed toward the hall time-traveling toilet. Apparently, these kids were going back in time to the Mesozoic era. Then guess what happened? Mr. Crop came in just as the purple potty in his cardboard box disappeared. Tiny Tippy was watching, and once the the aftermath began, Tiny Tippy went over to Big Tippy. Rats! Those kids have a time machine, and I don't know where they went. I do, said Tiny Tippy. Who are you? Asked Big Tippy. I'm Tiny Tippy, said Tiny Tippy. That's impossible. Tiny Tippy's over here. I'm 10 minutes older than that guy. Sent me back in time so where I could find out where those kids went to. Oh, I get it, said Big Tippy. Good idea, mate. So where'd they go? They went backward in time to 65 million years ago, said Tiny Tippy. Aha, said Big Tippy, slightly younger Tippy to Tiny Tippy to himself simultaneously. They're going back in time to the Mesozoic era. Big Tippy picked up his Tiny Tippy and shoved him into his pocket next to slightly younger Tiny Tippy. Let's all go back in time to the dinosaur age, shall we? So they did. Chapter 6, 65 million years ago. The primitive midday sky lit up with several blinding flashes as the purple potty suddenly appeared at the top of an ancient tree. George and Harold had successfully brought Crackers back to where they found him. They opened the door of the purple potty, then they discovered they'd also brought a stowaway. What the heck is going on here? Cried Mr. Krupp as he hung from a branch high up in the treetop. Oh no! Cried George. Mr. Krupp must have been standing too close to the purple potty when we zapped backward in time. He got zapped back with us. Harold reached out his hand to grab hold of Miss Crook. How could things get any worse? Suddenly the tree started to shake. Boom, boom, boom went the tree. George and Harold looked down and saw Tippy's gigantic robo-pants kicking the side of the tree. What's he doing here? cried Harold. I don't know, said George, but I think we're about to fall. The horrible kicking continued and the tree shook wildly. Finally, the purple pie slipped sideways and toppled over. We're doomed, screamed Harold as they all fell. The purple pie cracked and split apart as it tumbled down the side of the tree. Mr. Krabs fell too, smacking against every branch on the way down. Suddenly, the purple potty hit the ground with a terrible crash and broke apart into 1,000 pieces. Mr. Crow hit the ground too, but was surprised to find out that he wasn't hurt a bit. Big Tippy kicked through the wreckage of the purple potty, but could not find any trace of George or Harold or their pets. Where did they go? He asked. Look, up there, cried the two tiny Tippies who were peeking out of the Big Tippy's pocket. Crackers had grabbed George, Harold, and Sulu at the last second. Good boy, Crackers, cried George. You saved us. Not for long, screamed Big Tippy as he peered peevishly from a porthole on top of his robo-pants. Didn't Hill looked down at Mr. Crook, who was still trying to figure out how he'd fallen 60 feet and still not gotten hurt. The two boys snapped their fingers. Suddenly, a welcome smile spread across Mr. Crook's face. Immediately, he pulled off his shoes and socks. Then he unclipped his tie and ripped off his shirt. He grabbed a red curtain from the cardboard box beside him, tied it around his neck as he wiggled out of his pants. Captain Underpants was back, and Tippy Tinkletrousers and the two tiny twins were in the fight of their lives. Chapter 7: Two Tiny Traitors. George and Harold ran through the thick jungle foliage. There were Crackers and Sulu flying above them. Captain Underpants decided to tag along too, just for fun. Big Tippy jumped onto the back of a nearby tyrannosaurus rex and chased after them. You can't run forever, shouted Big Tippy. When I catch you guys, I'm gonna tear you apart. Can we help? Asked the two tiny Tippies, who were tucked away in Big Tippy's jacket pocket. No, said Big Tippy sternly. You two keep quiet while I take care of business. This is a job for a man, not two little twerps like you. Okay, 42 minutes. The chase continued, and Tiny Tippy and slightly younger Tiny Tippy decided to go back in time. Big Tippy didn't even notice the flashes of light. They ended up in some creamy, coconutty, marshmallowy ambrosia salad. Honey, said a mother who was setting her dinner table, two little pairs of pants are walking around in our ambrosia salad. Oh, really? Said her son. And I'm the one seeing the therapist. Because this guy actually appeared in some other books. Remember, he even appeared in book 9. He was telling his mom stuff that happened during the events of Captain Underpants. Yeah, he's in the first book, the second book, the fourth book, the 9th book. He's even in the 12th book in the future. Then Tiny Tippy and slightly younger Tiny Tippy crawled out of the serving bowl, shook off the pineapple chunks, mandarin orange slices, and then they slid through the mail shot of the front door. They went to the scene of like the part where Captain Underpants was tearing apart the giant robo-suit in Chapter 8. They take the Goosey Goat for 1,000. A slightly younger Tiny Tippy makes Tiny Tippy bigger 2 times, and now he's known as Super Mega Tippy. Super Mega Tippy takes the Goosey Goat for 1,000. And then he goes back in time some pages ago where Big Tippy is chasing Captain Underpants. He grabs him and gets him wet, which turns him into Mr. Crook. They try to snap their fingers but can't get him to go back. And then Super Mega Tippy comes, they start arguing about who destroys Captain Underpants. Big Tippy sets off a bomb. Then, then, then Super Mega Tippy gets two extendoflex mechanic grippers. One of them holding a scissors, and cuts Captain Underpants' arm off. Then he kicks Big Tippy, and then that kills the dinosaurs. So, in a tsunami, then they go to 206,784 years ago in our time, because he went back 64,793 216 years ago. It actually adds up. Then they end up here in the town of cavemen, and then little did they know, and they actually did bring George and Harold and Crackers and Sue along, but little did they know they also bring slightly younger Tiny Tippy up. He 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 messed with his with the control panels of Super Mega Tippy's robot, and so the next time he uses Freezy Beam 4000, it will give him a big surprise apparently. Anyways, outside, Super Mega Tippy launches an extendoflex mechanic grippers. I mean, one of them, but Crackers dodges them all. Then he launches two more, and they all get caught. And George is like, "Hey, there's a bunch of cavemen behind you." And then he's like, "You're just saying that to trick me." And then he looks, he actually sees it, but of course they escape. He ties Captain Underpants to a waterfall, and then he goes. Then George and Harold go to the cave village, where they try to convince the cave people to help them. Then Super Mega Tippy comes and starts destroying huts. They go to a cave where they're scared. Then a bunch of cave teenagers build a campfire. Then George takes one steak, and then people started and then actually George started drawing on the cave wall and made the world's first cave drawing. And then they decided to make a mini comic starring Ook and Gluck. It kind of goes like this. Pause the video if you need to read it slower. And then they started drawing crane traps for Tippy, and then t- they came out and set up the traps. Jordan were like, "Hey, Tippy, there's a bunch of surprises waiting for you." And then there's this one wine, but he's like, "Ha ha ha! You think I'm gonna fall for that lame trick?" And then he falls on some banana peels and goes off a cliff into some black tar. And then some rocks on him. And then they set his robo-bar on fire, causing him to go into a lake. Then there's some more traps. Then Tippy launches his freezy beam, but then he can't shut it off because he messed with it. Remember? Then he uses the Goosey Crow 4000 and uses it to make it bigger. Unfortunately, it combines with this ice and then it spreads everywhere. But then the new Tippy, this guy, he launched them out of the ice, and suddenly it was freezing. And so, anyways, Captain Underpants went out of his gigantic glove, ripped off the trousers, and then put everybody, and then tied it like a knot and put everyone in it. They went over to present day southern France, and then uh, then they went back to the scene of the drama. Slightly younger Tippy, tiny Tippy, splashes some water onto his face, and then hey, what the heck is going on? And then he catches them, and then they say, "You know what? We're gonna start doing our homework and be teachers' pets." And then they go to 30 years from now, because oh hey, look at this. I hope this food doesn't kill me. Huh, huh, huh. Why does it look so old anyways? So they go to Jerome Hartwitz in that time. Then he starts punching, kicking Captain Underpants like a beanbag. And these two teachers are yelling, these kids. And then this Mr. Krupp is like, "Hey, Mr. Beard, Mr. Hotchings." And then, guess what? He's like, "What the heck?" Guess what? It's them. It's them. Guys, it's them. Then they're like, "You guys used to be the craziest kid in school." Then they start unwowing that wow because they didn't want to be like that. And so, anyways, they ended up going. And then they snapped his fingers and he turned into old Captain Underpants, which doesn't make sense because you'll find eventually in book 12. I don't want to give any spoiler warnings. Okay, fine. Spoiler warning. Like, Captain Underpants gets destroyed in book 12. I think y'all knew that anyways. But still, it just doesn't make sense. Or maybe it's like an alternate universe because they started out like mean. So of course, Captain Underpants, Mr. Crook might be Captain Underpants in that time. Anyways, George and Harold snap their fingers. Old Mr. Crook saves Mr. Crook. Then this happens. They basically just hate his face and just. So look, a bruised, a battered eye, a hurting nose, and a fallen off tooth. Then he launches a bomb, which is actually gonna be more. It's gonna blow up the entire galaxy. It's gonna be more. It's gonna have more destructive power than a supernova. Then guess what? Crackers and Sulu go and 13.7 billion years ago, away we go. Then our world got made. Wow. Chapter 26. What have you learned today? Remember at the beginning of this book when I told you you'd be smarter by page 210 than the world's most brilliant scientist? Well, congratulations. You now know what killed the dinosaurs, what started the last ice age, and how our universe actually began. Unfortunately, this information is not something you can use for any practical benefits. So if you ever get tested on this stuff in school, please don't answer with the truth. I can guarantee you it will not go well. This is the unfortunate fate of super smart people like us. There is rarely a place where we can use our vast knowledge, so we must be content to simply roll our eyes at people, shake our heads patronizingly, and sing that old inspiring song, I'm smarter than you. Naya, 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 Naya. For your convenience, sheet music has been provided on the following page. Name CBH Science Quiz F. When and how did the universe begin? Was slightly younger Tiny Tippy blew up a giant nuclear bomb 13.7 billion years ago. What caused this to happen? A pterodactyl and bionic hamster was this theory called the Big Kabloosh theory. How did the dinosaurs become extinct? When Tippy Tinkletrousers exploded in Mexico 65 million years ago. 5. What caused it? The last major ice age, the freeze being 4,000 combined with the goosey grow 4,000. Who made the world's cave drawings? George and Harold. I'm smarter than you. Music and lyrics by Albert Einstein. I'm smarter than you. Poopy poopy doo doo. You're dumber than me. Tinkle tinkle wee wee. Naya 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 naya. No more than you. Naya 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 naya. Tinkle tinkle doo 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 doo. I'm smarter than you. Poopy poopy doo doo. You're dumber than me. And tinkle tinkle wee wee. Naya 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 naya. You know less than me. Naya 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 naya. Tinkle tinkle Do. Chapter 27. Meanwhile, 30 years from now. And then they're like, hey, where the heck did Crackers and Sulu go? And then they're like, hey, hey, you go fly into the school and splash some water on your face. Sure thing, boss. Well, what are we gonna do now? We're stuck in the future without a time machine. George, said Harold as he looked down at Cracker's nest. We got no money, no identification, no nothing. George, said Harold again, looking closer into the nest. It's not like we can just go back to school and start over where we left off, said George. George, said Harold the third time. What? Said George finally. Then guess what happened? Bunch of eggs. Hey, what are those? I guess Crackers isn't sick after all, Harold. He was pregnant. But Crackers is a boy. Boys can't lay eggs. Maybe Crackers is a girl, said Harold. Oh yeah, said George. I guess that would make more sense. We gotta keep these eggs warm until Crackers and Sulu get back. But we don't even know where they went, said Harold. We don't even know if they will be back. Then we're just going to have to raise these eggs on our own, said George. That's the least we can do. Chapter 28, the very final chapter of the very last Captain Underpants epic novel. George and Harold and Captain Underpants held an egg close to their bodies to keep them warm. Then they started walking. What are we going to do? Asked Harold. Guess we should try our houses first, said George. Maybe your parents still live there. Good idea, said Harold. And then, hey, what are you guys doing? We're just taking these eggs to our home. Yeah, okay. Listen, we gotta go. We gotta go 29 years into the future. I mean, into the past. You see, I installed blah 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 on Sue's blah 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 blah. Let's just say no friend let me to you blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. When I designed Sue's robotic blah 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 blah, I installed a blah 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 blah. Boring, said George interrupted. Yeah, said Harold. We stopped listening like 10 seconds ago. Then he ended up taking them 29 years into the past. Then, okay, that's the end of this novel. Of course, there will be 2 more. I think those will come out soon. I'm trying to get at least 75 subscribers before next year. So subscribe now. Okay, if you do, thank you. Bye.